Okay, so final video in this series for this week. I'm going to look at employment law considerations and opportunities in relation to employment when it comes to blockchain. Blockchain technology does, as you know, offer some exciting opportunities in the employment sector, particularly in terms of secure data management, transparent transactions. It does, however, introduce some new legal risks, new legal considerations. So in this lecture recording, I want to explore both the benefits and the potential challenges of using blockchain in employment relationships. A couple of the things that we'll focus on. Well, let's start with the question of whether or not employers can pay their employees using cryptocurrency. So you know what cryptocurrency is. It's a type of digital token, I guess, and it has value. Whether the value is what we think it is, I don't know. But, what are the legal considerations if you want to pay your employees with cryptocurrency? So in order to understand the Australian law context of how and when an employer can do this, I want you to think about an employee's remuneration package as having three general components. Their wages or their salaries. So that would include bonuses, statutory entitlements, so leave, public holidays, things like that, superannuation, and then non-monetary benefits. So things like gym memberships or motor vehicles or some additional right that they have. The Fair Work Act, 2009, we've come across this a couple of times, is the legislation that governs the rights and obligations of most employee and employer relationships in Australia. And that legislation requires employers to pay wages in money by a prescribed method. So it has a specific requirement for the payment of money. So the relevant section is 3231B. The issue ultimately becomes then, is cryptocurrency money? So this point has not yet really been tested in an Australian tribunal, but from effectively, as far as the Australian Taxation Office is concerned, it has treated cryptocurrency as a security as opposed to cash. There are two main legal methods that have been used to define what money is, a functional approach and a sovereignty approach. So both of these effectively suggest that cryptocurrency would not be money according to labour laws. So cryptocurrencies don't function as money because their price is volatile. Of course, there are stable coins that have changed this, but for the most part, they're not a widely accepted medium of exchange. You can't basically go and use your Dogecoin or your Bitcoin or your Ethereum at the local Coles or Woolworths. Secondly, the Australian government hasn't authorised or issued any cryptocurrency as money. So if Australia were to do this, and there are countries that have and more that will, I'm sure, but if Australia were to issue a central bank digital currency, something that it is in fact researching at the moment, that CBDC, central bank cryptocurrency, would be authorised by the government, and therefore employers could pay their staff in it because it would fall within the definition of money. So Tony Richards, who's the head of payments policy for the RBA, said at one stage, the bank, so the RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, acknowledges the argument being made internationally that with all the innovation that's occurring in the payments area, provision of a new digital form of central bank money for general purpose use could be important for safeguarding confidence in natural monies and the role of fiat currencies at the heart of monetary, financial and payment systems. So consequently, what does this mean? If, for now at least, we accept that cryptocurrencies don't qualify as money, then basically we're going to reach the conclusion that the Fair Work Act is likely to treat cryptocurrency as a non-monetary benefit in the employee's remuneration package. So the employer would need to pay the employee their wage in fiat money, in exchangeable commodity as we understand it, as prescribed by a legal instrument. So the employment contract, the award, the enterprise bargaining agreement. And in the absence of a legal instrument, then it would be the national minimum wage, which is around $900, $915.90 actually, as at the 1st of July 2024, based on a week of 38 ordinary hours at $24.10 an hour. Again, that's July 2024 numbers. So while employers can't pay wages in cryptocurrency, employees can agree in some circumstances to forego their wages in exchange for cryptocurrency as part of a salary sacrifice arrangement. According to the Australian Tax Office, the ATO, salary sacrifice arrangement is subject to fringe benefits tax, which would be payable by the employer and by virtue of the employee's tax liability may impact the dollar value of the employee's overall remuneration package. So given the high FBT rate, so it's currently 47%, it's unlikely that employees are going to be keen on pursuing this unless, of course, their employer is keen to take over that liability in some way. So clearly it's very difficult under labour law as it's presently set for companies to pay wages or salary in cryptocurrency. And further, under the tax laws for salary sacrificing wages for cryptocurrency. There are some potential methods in which employees might receive cryptocurrency, but these require some real expert consideration. So what other employment applications might be relevant to blockchain? Pretty much everybody who's heard of blockchain knows that it's about more than cryptocurrency, right? Retailers, pharmaceutical companies are rolling out blockchains for supply chain. There's a lot of different things that is happening with it. Blockchain is capable of acting as a single source of truth for data from multiple systems, while at the same time it can verify that the data using consensus mechanisms and protect that via cryptocurrency and create an immutable digital trail just as a consequence of the way it's set up. Blockchain is a perfect tool for stamping out counterfeiting and fraud. Another really good use is for identity and credentials management, something that employers need to do all the time, whether that's for individuals, prospective employees, current ones, or contractors. So PwC did a global blockchain survey in 2023, and they asked executives which blockchain use cases would go to the mainstream the fastest. And identity management was identified as number 3 on their list, just behind mobile payments and supply chain management. So how do identity and credentials management work on the blockchain? Firstly, they help prevent resume fraud. So when a company or its algorithm, let's face it, accesses somebody's resume, there's always the possibility that the information could be exaggerated or even just made up. It turns out that 37% of hiring managers who reported bad hires blamed the candidate's misrepresentation of their credentials or their skills. And that's, again, based on the research that PwC did. A credential checking blockchain might be able to help here. A credentials issuer, so a university, a professional organisation, or a prior employer who's providing a referral or a reference of some sort, could enter the credentials directly into a blockchain in order to verify it, and then digitally and immutably store it in that blockchain. The job candidate becomes the owner of the credential with the ability to digitally share it with prospective employees, but not to change it. So the process becomes trustworthy, transparent, and hopefully fast. There's no need to call anyone to verify a credential or to hunt through the inbox looking for the resume. It's all right there on the blockchain. Another thing that it could be used in a similar vein would be to verify qualifications and skills, so technical skills. So if you're dealing with sensitive data, machines, healthcare decisions, and you want to make sure that only the right people with the right qualifications have access, a blockchain could be a really important part of that process as well. I think one of the things that we're really looking at, especially with recent announcements around digital identity, is the extent to which a universal identification platform, perhaps built on the blockchain, could be a really useful source of maintaining identity information. Moving beyond the passport, the driver's license, and the sharing of information. So a single source of verifiable truth that doesn't actually provide the personal information at all. It just demonstrates that the information has been looked at by somebody you trust. It's been maintained, that trust hasn't changed. And I think in an employment sense, that could be a really interesting and really useful technology. The last thing I want to mention here in relation to blockchain is work that's being done by the Australian government in relation to its technical use of the blockchain, which might head down this way. I've taken information on the slide here from the Australian Government Architecture webpage, essentially the specifications and policy statements that the Australian government releases about what technology suppliers to it need to meet. And the bullet points on the slide pretty much represent the current state of the policy, but the policy is not firm and is still subject to consultation. So before the Australian government considers using blockchain architecture, it needs to consider whether blockchain is the most appropriate solution to meet the business outcomes, to determine if there are any specific ethical, privacy, or legislative requirements that need to be taken into account, and how these are best addressed in the proposed solution, to establish monitoring and reporting systems and processes that will measure and report on blockchain technology performance, risks, and key operational issues post-implementation, to engage with other agencies with prior experience in adoption of the technology to leverage existing investment, as well as knowledge, patents, and services, and to ensure that there are appropriate blockchain governance and risk management frameworks in place while the technology is implemented and operationally supported. Why show you this? Because I consider that this is a really good starting place for thinking on behalf of an organisation about how it might manage its risk if it were to use the blockchain, whether in an employment context, which is our focus today, or in a more broader focus. There may well be some slides on in the package that you have not yet seen. In the lecture recordings, that is largely a time constraint. This reference slide really provides the sources that I use to prepare the lecture content as such. There are much more comprehensive references on Canvas. These are not required or even recommended readings. They're just really starting places for you when it comes to doing your research for your second or third assignment, if employment and these technologies are relevant to that. Questions, concerns, frustrations, compliments, you know where to find me. I'll look forward to seeing you next week.